So this is the self-development with tactics book. So this one is gonna be about Adam Grant's give and take once again. And with this being said, hello and welcome back to this episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast. And I'm very, very happy to be here again. Very pumped actually. I was really fucking just pumped to be here again, to actually go through this one and just talk a little bit, which is just nice. And you know, the worst part about everything is that I just have to post them and that I just have to upload all these things and all these just kind of organizational things, I guess. You know, it's not always nice to just go through all the keywords and, you know, actually writing the description, all these things. These take a lot of time and these take up a lot of time, which is the same exact thing with, doing the posts and posting and or scheduling the post. You know, doing them is just extremely great. You know, it takes a lot of time, to be honest, because I'm always trying to do something new. I'm always trying to just, kind of break my boundaries and break the patterns that I'm using, because what you can often see is that you actually will just do the exact same thing or the exact same way of doing something quite often, especially if you just, like the way, and then you'll be like, okay, just I'm doing this because it looks great. And then at the end you see, okay, every fucking single post is just looking the same, which is not that good, and therefore it just takes a lot of time. But also actually scheduling them takes a lot of time, and it would actually be nice to have something that you can use to bulk upload them all, because I do just have to upload them all just by themselves, which is just another thing that takes quite a lot of time. But I shouldn't complain. I'm very happy to be here, and as you might have heard in the intro, we are going through Give and Take by Adam Grant once again. Actually today again just was thinking about doing something besides this one book, because I'm normally doing just 2 books, at a time, so that it's not that boring for all the people. But I do think that I'm just gonna stick to this one, and tomorrow there will definitely be something else, because tomorrow there will be 2 episodes. So on Friday the 10th of May, there will be 2 episodes, like on every singular weekend that I'm having. Oh, it's even there. I actually thought the winner wouldn't be there, because it's always like a problem that, you just have to configure it once again when you're just starting the episode and whatsoever. But this time it's actually there, which is great. I do hope the quality is not as bad as it just looks like somehow, because it really is. It's not that nice, the camera there. But maybe I'll upgrade. I'll see. I'll definitely see. So the Einman versus Jordan in basketball scouting, which seems to be quite I don't want to say famous, but it seems to be known. So Give and Take uses 2 well-known basketball figures. I didn't know Einman, or Inman, or whatever he's actually pronounced, but I definitely knew Jordan. So uses 2 well-known basketball figures to illustrate the talent-developing differences between givers and takers. Stu Inman was basketball scout for the Portland Trail Blazers and is seen as key to building the team that won the championship in 1977. Adam Grant cites Inman's classic giver behaviors. As a college coach, he cared about talent development and made room for greedy players even if they lacked talent, which is, at my point of view, very important, because I've once been talking to a person, I do not remember who it was, but I guess he actually said that most of the actual soccer players that are out there aren't that talented, but they just worked a lot and they just did a lot, and it was quite the only thing that was in their life, so they just liked it. They just liked doing the sport. But I don't know, I guess all the players that are in the NFL or in every just national league are good. They are good, but there definitely are better ones. But they are all good. If it's because of their talent, I think for sure they all have talent. Because I do think if they wouldn't have any talent, they would also be not that good. And if they're not that good, I do guess it wouldn't be that much fun for them in the beginning. Once you're good and once you have just trained so well, or you are trained so well, it doesn't matter anymore so much. I think, how talented you are, because you're in the league, you're having quite a job, quote unquote job, if you're willing, and everything is quite great. You do not have to have any fears of your, existence or whatsoever. But still, I do guess all the athletes out there, whether it be in the NFL or the Premier League or in La Liga or whatever just sport it may be, I do think they're working quite a lot, because they just have to. They just really have to. But yeah, so blah, blah, blah. So as an NBA scout, he fought common wisdom and used psychological analysis to find gritty players rather than focusing on upfront performance. This led to picks like Bill Walton and Clyde Drexler. And they had their share of mistaken picks, but Iman was receptive to negative feedback and to admitting his mistakes. After making bad picks, other NBA teams tended to play their picks more than they should have, in an effort to prove their ego correct, and out of ego protecting denial that they had made a mistake. In contrast, the Blazers played their bad picks less than average, thus de-escalating their commitment. And I do think it's very important, and something that I'm just truly thankful for, that he's actually picking it out and underlying it, is that Einman, or I'm hopefully not bothering anyone or just really pissing somebody off, because I actually do not know how it's going to pronounce, or how he is pronounced actually. But I think it's just incredible that he picks out that receiving negative feedback wasn't something that's so bad for him, and also actually admitting that his picks were not that good, or his picks were actually very terrible. And I do think it's very important that he was actually such a person that it kind of was like, okay, I understand it, I made a mistake, but it is what it is. And I guess that's way better, even though it's a little let me see. 1 second. Now it's actually quite besides me. So I do think that the lighting is now way better, and I'm way brighter, and you totally can see me way better. So, but yeah, I think it's very important that he actually picked out or underlined that he wasn't just ashamed by his mistakes, and he just really admitted them, and he was living with them, and he just acknowledged them and said, okay, I made a mistake, I'm just learning from it, and it is okay, but the next time I'm just doing it better. Or something. But he's not like, I'm never doing a mistake because I'm Mr. blah blah and I do never make any fucking mistake. That's very important, because it just seems to me to be like, okay, the second behavior that I just pointed out is actually, at my point of view at least, a behavior of a classical or classic actually taker, I guess, because but I think we'll see. I guess we'll actually see. So I'm gonna just read it again. In contrast, the Blazers played their bad picks less than average, thus de-escalating their commitment. In contrast, Michael Jordan, despite being the best-known basketball player of all time, was a classic taker on and off the court. While playing, he was known as being egoistical and selfish. He bristled under constructive feedback and was criticized at his Hall of Fame speech for thanking few people and exorating his doubters. Or doubters, actually, because I think it's quite a silent B, like in that. There's also a B in it, but you don't actually speak it. And I guess it's the same thing as doubters. Yeah, doubters. So as an executive for the Washington Wizards, Jordan made a bad first pick in Kwame Brown, who never lived up to potential. Brown's failure was mean a huge blow to Jordan's ego. Jordan untired to play on the Wizards alongside Brown, and he ritually reduced Brown to tears. Without success, Jordan was fired from the Wizards, but he didn't let it go. When Jordan owned the Charlotte Bobcats, he signed Brown again. The Bobcats gave Brown more minutes than ever, but he struggled to thrive. Jordan kept throwing good money after bad, unable to admit his mistake and stinging under the increasing criticism about his management. I can feel with both of them. For me, the first one just seems very, very strong. So Iron Man seems so strong. He seems to be just very confident and very okay, he knows what he is doing quite. And I'm not really saying that it is not something that I'm not seeing in Jordan or something, because there are a lot of Jordan fans, and I don't know. I do not have any clue about basketball, but I know Jordan, and I know him as a just very good basketball player. But I also understand him. It would also piss me off when I'm just making wrong picks or just mistakes over and over again. But at some point of view or at some point of time, I do actually think you just have to kind of admit, okay, it was a failure, because as you can see, it would be just a short-term pain. It definitely would be admitting, okay, you made a mistake. It wasn't a great pick. The person you picked, didn't just live up to his potential or to the potential that you thought this person would have. It would be a pain in the ass in the short term, but in the long term, you would actually save the whole team and also save your career somehow, because you're not spending any more time and also money on people that are not worth it, or people you then just can say, okay, they're just similar to Brown and they're kind of acting like him, so chances are very high that they're also not having this great potential, even though they seem to have. Maybe, I don't know. Just something I think about. Chapter 5, the power of powerless communication. How to be modest and influence people. There are two modes of communication: powerful communication and powerless communication. Powerful communication tries to establish dominance, and takers are attracted to the style. They speak loudly and forcefully, express certainty, promote accomplishments, and have large body language. Picture a military general using orders. It's totally what you can think about, just very upfront, just very straight back, very straight body posture, very loud, very you have to do this, not can you please do this, and very just what he's saying is what counts and whatsoever. I can feel it, I can understand it somehow. And then there is the powerless communication. Powerless communication tries to build prestige and admiration, and givers are attracted to this style. Powerless communicators speak less aggressively and assertively, express doubt by using disclaimer and hesitations and sorta, and this may be a bad idea, but and they also signal vulnerability, ask questions, and rely on advice. Picture a warm, supportive teacher. I don't know. The thing is, I do not have any clue about any just leading, just leading people. Actually, I've never been quite a person, even though I would like to be, I guess. And this is maybe something that I do just have to be truthful to myself or to myself in the long term. That this is something that I'm by now at least not am. It could actually be that I'm just getting into the role and that I do just have to adapt to it and do have to just think about it and just see how it actually is. But but to this point, I'm not a leader. I'm not a leader of anyone. Because I'm quite working alone. I'm doing everything alone. Quite in school, I'm not alone totally, but then I'm also not quite a leader. It definitely depends on the project. Sometimes I am some sorta, sometimes I'm not. That's it. So maybe I do just have to get into the position to actually say, okay, I am a leader or I'm not a leader. But the problem there is, I don't know what's a better style. I really can't decide right now, because the thing is, actually being very expressive and being very like, this is what I say and this is what you have to do, and being like authoritative and just I wouldn't say aggressive. Yeah, okay, it is aggressive. It is totally aggressive. So I don't know in which situations one of them would be the better one. But for me, in general, it feels like being a warm teacher is a great role to be in, but it kind of doesn't feel for me like that it is actually a good role to lead in. But I don't know, it's up to you. What do you think? Would actually be nice. Comment down below, or just tweet me something, or just, hit me up on Instagram. Would be actually very nice. It would really help me. So in Give and Take, Adam Grant examines how givers and powerless communicators succeed in 4 areas. But maybe we'll see, and this is the very great part of these very long and detailed book summaries, because there's so much in it, and chances are high that all my answers or all my questions actually get an answer. So the first one is presenting, the second one is selling, the third one is pursuing, and the fourth one is negotiation or negotiating. In sum, powerless communication is effective because people are naturally skeptical of intentions, which makes sense. This really makes sense. So bristle at being ordered around and have their own egos to protect. By asking questions and indicating vulnerability, givers become approachable, show reception to new ideas, and learn new information that helps them pursue. Which also makes sense, because I do think something that I quite feel right now. To actually pursue something, you have to know them, because you have to know their values, you have to know what they are thinking about, and you have to know quite a lot of things, I would say. I hope that you actually can see me right now, because I actually turned on the TV so that I might even be a little bit lighter, or brighter, or more lit up, or whatever you want to say. Yeah. But I do just have to put something up there so that I'm actually pretty fucking bright. Yeah, should be okay, I guess. Everything is quite on right now. And the screen in front of me, the screen like there where you are, then there is a fucking light beside me. Everything is on. I could also turn on my keyboard lighting, but I think that would be just very unnecessary. So it makes sense that you actually have to know the people to pursue them, because if you don't know what they are valuing, if you don't know what they just like, what they just don't like, and you argue, and you're just arguing with them, and you're just having the wrong kind of options, I would say, quote unquote, or you say the wrong things, like, okay, for sure, just being a great leader is great, and this is how you can do this. And the person might be like, okay, I do not want to be a leader. And then the whole marketing and the whole thing around your story is useless, because you're just going for something that the person actually isn't. The first one is presenting. When giving a presentation, revealing vulnerability and humanity make you approachable and get people to emphasize with you. Givers are interested in helping others, not in establishing dominance, so they are not afraid to show vulnerability. And it also makes sense, and this is actually something that I've been thinking about today, because I'm having an internship in the summer, as you might know, if you've been following me for a bit, which is something that I'm quite looking forward to, because it's quite a nice company. They actually make quite a lot of the event logos for Red Bull, which is great, and which is, by the way, an Austrian just company, if you didn't know, which is, I guess, one of the few big companies that is from Austria, actually, which is great, because it is a very, very big one. And So they do the logos and they do also a lot of great stuff. So they really do. So I'm looking forward to it. The problem there is only that I just do not know where or when I'm working there, because I've been talking to the CEO and he was like, okay, he can't say me right now because they do just have to plan their holidays and all these things, so that it's not like, okay, so that everything is working out. But what I wanted to say is that I actually feel like if I'm making myself a little bit more vulnerable, actually also in my internship, then I think the time there will be just way better. It kind of feels for me like this because I don't know. It kind of feels for me because I have had quite one internship and one summer job. The summer job was at a coffee marketing kind of company, which was, if I'm just looking back to it, into the past, it was actually a great one. And I did learn things that are for me right now quite valuable. And I've been just learning how to use Excel and how to just get data from actual potential clients, which is very important. So at the end, even though the manager of the marketing department always was like, the thing that you're doing is very important for us. It's very important. But I always thought like, what the fuck? I'm only getting some data, but I didn't know. I really didn't know. And he was telling me about long-term, not long-term, but long-tail keywords and all these great things. So at the end, it is really something great, or it was really something great. And they actually also moved the office to a way bigger place and a way more just better looking place, I guess. Or it kind of feels for me like this because I've seen a very big banner of the logo, or of them actually with their logo on a very big building here where I'm actually going to school, which is interesting. So I don't know. So making yourself vulnerable, I think, actually lets people connect way better to you, and because they know you, they know what you're up to, they know, I don't know. I kind of feel like they're having a better connection with you, and I guess also the communication there will be better because, I don't know, but for me it's like I'm talking to friends way differently. First of all, way differently, and second of all, I guess also more like relaxed. And I do guess that being a little bit more relaxed, especially in a creative job and in a creative industry, is quite essential, because if you're quite very uncomfortable, you will also not just share your ideas, which might be very, very important and whatsoever. So but this is actually something that I've been talking about yesterday, which was more about like, okay, if the culture in your company is actually good enough, and these things, so that you also quite are comfortable with actually just spreading your ideas and whatsoever. But I don't know, for me it just feels like making yourself a little bit more vulnerable, even though it's something a lot of people do not really like. They really hate it. I know some people, or actually one person, but I do guess it's something a lot of people do not want to do, which is also understandable, which is really understandable, but I'm going ahead. So in contrast, takers worry that showing vulnerability will limit their ability to gain dominance. Their powerful communication, however, can clash with other people who want to assert dominance, or when the audience is skeptical of your influence and the message gets lost. Powerless communication only works, however, if you signal your competence in other ways, such as credentials or the content of your speech. If you're competent and vulnerable, audiences like you more. But if you're incompetent and vulnerable, the audience likes you less. This is the pratfall effect. The pratfall, which is a strong P, or like a P like pizza, RATFALL. What is it actually called? Because there's this the one B, which is like baby, which is like way like softer and whatsoever, and then there's the strong one. Is it actually soft and strong? I quite don't think so, but would be nice. So the pratfall effect, in other words, mistakes amplify the audience's prior conception about you. Which then means, okay, I get it, because it just means if they just look at you as being a very, very incompetent person and you're doing some mistakes, they will totally feel like, okay, you're actually very incompetent. But if you're very competent, you seem very competent, and you make mistakes, it somehow seems to actually be like it is actually amplifying that the people think that you're competent. Even though, as I'm quite thinking about it, it doesn't make quite a lot of sense. It is understandable for me, and I guess I can find a way where it actually makes sense, but maybe it's even just, very, very difficult to believe. But I think I'm gonna just read something about the pratfall effect. So when presenting to senior military officers, Adam Grant started his presentation with a powerless joke. I know what you're thinking. What can I possibly learn from a professor who's 12 years old? This approach led to much better reception compared to a powerful presentation of his credentials. As you can see, he's making himself vulnerable because he's loving about himself, but I think it also shows that he can love about himself as well. He's not a funny person or something, but he just is confident enough to make these joke and make himself vulnerable. Kind of makes sense. But I do just have to plug in my PC. Very interesting episode. The first time I actually did do something else, then I just, were working on the light, and now I'm actually having some issue with my power supply. But fortunately enough, there it is. By the way, if you're having a MacBook or if you're having any Apple products, the original things, like this fucking cable, it is fucking 80 euros, which is, I think, about $85-90, which is a fucking lot. Just for fucking cable, what the fuck? But I understand it, it's branded and it's great. You can just, choose two plug-in things, like this one for a long cable, and there's also one for a short cable, or to make the cable actually shorter. It makes sense somehow, and it has also some great features like, these things, so that you can actually kind of roll them up on these things, and that your cable actually won't be destroyed or won't be will be working for quite a longer time than just 2 months or something. I'm gonna hold actually the cable right now. Selling. Picture a stereotype of salesperson. Is this actually something we can go through? Yeah, we can. So picture a stereotype of a salesperson, and you may picture a hard-changing, gracious backslapper who is pushing you down a list of features and won't take no fear for an answer. And won't take no for an answer. It turns out givers are the most effective salespeople, showing higher results across industries like insurance and pharmaceuticals. Givers want to help their customers solve their problems, and they use powerless communication to achieve it. In sales, givers ask lots of questions to understand the client's scenario, customize a solution to best match the client's needs, and then allow the client to make her or his own conclusion and or decision. And there, which is actually something great, he pointed out that the giver is asking a lot of questions. And I think I actually before pointed out that it is very important to know whom you're serving, or who you're serving and or whom you're giving the product to. Because if you don't know what this person needs, and or if you don't know what they're just valuing, selling something is very, very difficult, I guess, because you don't know what, you do not know how, you don't know what you have to say to actually pursue them, and whatsoever. So I totally think that actually knowing them is very important, and therefore also listening, and maybe also just reading in between the lines. Tactically, asking questions allows a salesperson to unearth new customer needs and use cases that wouldn't have been discovered through a brute force one-size-fits-all approach. Adam Grant gives an example of an optician who approached a woman skeptical of buying expensive multifocal glasses, which is actually glasses that somehow are making you or making your sight sharper when you're looking down. No, when you're looking up for the farther away things. But if you're just, turning your head down and you're looking like, old people when they're actually reading something, then it is way more magnifying. So I do think these are just glasses that have different magnifiers, I would just say, in the glass itself. Like, the top is differently focused than the bottom part, the middle is differently focused than the left and right, and whatsoever, which is actually great. It makes sense, but I do also think that it could just be very, very disturbing. So after asking questions about her daily sight problems and her potential use cases, the optician realizes she has a misconception that the glasses can only be used part of the day. He ultimately makes the sale. Powerless communication in sales also works because as a consumer, you're flooded with strong messaging all day, from advertisers to politicians, and when you hear a powerful sales pitch, you tend to get suspicious. You don't want to be tricked and you prefer not to feel manipulated, which is very important. I was kind of writing on Twitter DM with the person, and he then at the end, as normally, offered me something, but it really for me sounded like, okay, he does want to sell me something. And in general, I'm a person who, it's not worth selling me anything because I won't buy anything, because it's just me. I won't buy anything. And the thing where it just, I just felt like, I'm getting sold on. I also said it to the person because I thought like, it is important that they actually know, okay, this approach might not have been that good. I should have done it in another way and whatsoever. Giving powerless approach guides you to making your own conclusions. Lawyers say the art of advocacy is to lead you to my conclusion on your terms. I want you to form your own conclusion. You'll hold on to them more strongly. Which makes sense because it is your fucking thought. I try to walk jurors is like JURORS up to that line and drop them off and let them make up their own minds, which is actually something that is actually standing in How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, one of these books that I really deeply enjoy and really deeply would suggest you to go through as well, because it is great. It's not that long. It's I think 300 pages, which is quite nothing for such a great book, and it is also, I think, even under $10. It definitely depends on whether you're using it or whether you're buying it as used and whatsoever, but it is very great. And he pointed out that people like to have their own ideas and people like to just use their own shit and whatsoever. It's quite about them, really often also in terms of speaking, but so they like to just talk about themselves. And this just really plays into the hands of this whole concept and this whole statement that they just will feel better because they were thinking about a conclusion themselves. And actually, Dale Carnegie, sorry if I said the G, Dale Carnegie, it's Dale Carnegie, actually pointed this out as well, so that you could actually, or should actually, make people pretend or think like it was their idea, even though it wasn't. A related point, people love talking about themselves. The more you talk in a group, the more you think you've learned about the group, even though the information exchange was unliteral. Thus, by asking questions, givers inspire joy in the talker and enable introspection leading to a conclusion. Yeah, so quite what I did say, or what I said actually, what I did say. English on point. But yeah, so my German is actually way worse than my English, I'd say, at the time. I do think it's I'm actually thinking about forcing myself to read some German things, at least once a week, because I'm not really into just, losing my fucking mother tongue or my fucking main language or mother language or whatever it is called before my A-levels. You know, it wouldn't be great. It wouldn't be great if I just because of that didn't make it through the A-levels. But yeah, I wish you the best health, wealth, happiness, and success. But still, do think about how you're gonna be remembered, and therefore you may be just, you know, giving back to the people and or giving back something to the world. It is important. It feels nice. It feels great. It helps other people. So it's a win-win situation, and why not? And with that being said, I wish you the best, and I'll see you. I love you.